Exposed, the incredible transformation of a hidden cleaning lady who changed my life forever. On the gritty streets of Chicago's Loop, amid towering skyscrapers and flashing billboards, a cleaning lady named Sarah scrubbed the floors of glass and steel offices. Her heart held dreams for her son Billy, who reminded her of the sun shining after a storm. As she polished the desks of high-powered executives, she felt like a ghost, unseen and unheard in a world of wealth. Yet there was a warmth about her that lingered, a flicker of resilience that captivated those who glanced her way, albeit for a moment. But that rainy Wednesday night, the kind of night that soaked the city and made buildings look like dark giants, was different. Emily, the overworked office manager, lingered late, poring over a presentation that could make or break her career. The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets, weighing heavily on her mind. She turned a corner and nearly collided with Sarah, who was on her hands and knees, meticulously cleaning the floor. "I'm so sorry," said Emily, her voice weary yet kind. "I'm just doing my job," Sarah smiled, her eyes sparkling with a gentleness that resonated. That moment sparked something between them. As days passed, they exchanged snippets of their lives, a brief window into their contrasting worlds. Sarah shared how she put in long hours to give Billy the chance she never had. Emily found herself drawn to Sarah's determination, a thread weaving them together despite the chaos around them. "Hope is what keeps us going," Sarah said one evening, pausing to wipe a tear that threatened to escape. Emily felt a tightening in her chest, her eyes glistening with an unfamiliar sense of empathy. Was it possible that beneath the surface of their high-rise dilemmas lay deeper truths? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But their blossoming bond was shattered the night a devastating fire engulfed Sarah's apartment building. The news spread through the city, igniting concern among those who barely acknowledged Sarah's presence before. Emily felt a surge of urgency crawl beneath her skin. She had to help, but doubt crept in. Was she just a corporate drone, stuck in her privileged bubble? Determined, Emily began rallying support, her heart pounding as she reached out to her colleagues. But the response was cold. "Way too much time spent worrying about the cleaning lady and her people," they said. The gleaming walls of the office echoed with indifference. Each comment felt like a personal stab, and Emily suddenly felt an existential battle between ambition and belief in justice unfolding within her. She stood on the precipice of action, contemplating whether to dive in or retreat. Sarah's dreams for Billy flickered in her mind like the flames that stole everything from her. Emily desperately needed to find a way to stand with Sarah and make a real difference. The stakes were high, their lives intertwined amid struggle, and both women faced a path that could either rekindle hope or drown them in despair. Would they find the courage to rise up together, pushing past the barriers of society? Or would the shadows of their realities overwhelm them, pulling them apart just when the light was breaking through? The tension mounted, leaving all to wonder what would come next. Emily stared blankly at her computer screen, the same presentation she had been so obsessed with just days ago now haunting her. The flickering cursor felt more like a slow tick of a countdown than a tool for success. Her thoughts drifted to Sarah, the laughter they shared. The stories swapped over quick flashes of their lives. Sarah was not just a cleaning lady. She was a woman fighting fiercely for her son, driven by love and dreams. How could she return to the same routine, knowing the turmoil Sarah faced? It was Friday, just 2 days after the fire, when Emily decided enough was enough. A storm of strength brewed within her, casting out her doubts. She gathered her belongings, heart racing, and stepped out onto the bustling streets. The air felt charged, electric with promise and uncertainty. Her usually brisk pace softened as she approached the vacant lot where Sarah's building once stood. A darkened landscape of ashes and rubble symbolized despair, but Emily was not deterred. In that moment, she realized how privilege had shaped her existence. No more would she let her life remain untouched by hardship. She had to find Sarah and bring support. Feeling the weight of her responsibility, Emily rushed to the small coffee shop nearby. It was a haven for locals, buzzing with chatter and warmth. She ordered 2 cups of coffee, hoping the familiar aroma would revive her spirits. A familiar face flashed across her mind: Joe, the barista who often got her order wrong. But today she would put him to good use. Joe, she called out, forcing a smile despite her pounding heart. Have you heard about Sarah? The cleaning lady from the office? His brow furrowed. Concern etched into the cavern of his features. Yeah, I saw the news. Terrible stuff, really? Do you know if she's okay? Emily took a deep breath, determination sparking in her chest. I need to help her. Can we set up a fundraiser? I have my contacts from work, but I need someone to spread the word. Joe straightened, a ball of energy forming between them. You got it. Let us do this. I can make some calls. And I know a few people here who want to pitch in. Emily didn't know if it was the caffeine or the idea of hope that washed over her. But suddenly everything felt possible. They brainstormed ideas, quickly filling napkins with details of an event, a community gathering to raise funds for Sarah. It would be a night of music and connection. A chance for people to come together. That night, as she sat on her couch with coffee-stained sheets of paper spread out around her, Emily felt a flicker of hope. The more she worked, the more she could picture Sarah's grateful face, the vibrant smile pulled tight in a story of newfound support. But just as she felt a touch of resolve, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number sent chills cascading down her spine. Sarah needs more than money. You're getting involved, be prepared. Emily stared at the screen, unease knotting in her stomach. Did this stranger know something she didn't? What kind of trouble was Sarah truly in? With a mixture of excitement and dread, Emily realized they were about to dive deeper into a journey far more challenging than she anticipated. What lay ahead promised to test not just her courage, but her entire understanding of compassion. Would she uncover the truth about Sarah's situation in time? Or would her efforts inadvertently plunge them into an even darker reality? Emily sat frozen, the glow of her phone illuminating the unease etched on her face. What did the message mean? Sarah's situation felt like a mysterious puzzle, with pieces scattering around her. She couldn't shake the feeling that time was ticking against them. Shaking her head, she took a deep breath, fighting to pull herself together. She grabbed her laptop, her fingers fumbling over the keys as she opened her email. She needed information, anything that could lead her to Sarah or expose the deeper struggles lurking beneath the surface. Her first thought was to reach out to some of her colleagues. Maybe one of them knew more. Hi all, she typed, anxiety knotting her stomach. I'm reaching out about Sarah the cleaner. After the fire, I want to help her out. But I feel like there's more going on here. If anyone has any information or has spoken to her, please let me know. Hitting send, she felt a twinge of hope. Would someone respond? The clock was ticking and she needed answers. Her mind spiraled, connecting dots she didn't even know existed. How could she have been so focused on her own life when someone else was fighting such harder battles? Minutes passed, each tick of the clock almost mocking her impatience. She stared blankly out her window, the neighborhood stretching before her, people living their lives without knowing the struggles hidden in the shadows. Sarah's story was important, and Emily was determined to uncover it. As the sun set, washing everything in shades of orange and purple, Emily's phone vibrated again. Her heart lurched. She grabbed it quickly, praying for a beacon of clarity. It was a response from her colleague, Jenna. I don't know much, but I heard Sarah's son is in trouble. Something about debts. And she was worried about keeping him safe. Be careful, Emily. You might be getting involved in something bigger than you think. The words hit her hard. Debts? Trouble? Emily's mind raced. There was injustice here, and it wasn't just a matter of raising funds. This was a battle for survival. Already Sarah's world seemed filled with danger and fear. Emily's resolve solidified. She wouldn't back down now. She picked up her phone, dialing Joe's number. Joe, we need to meet. The fundraiser isn't just about money anymore. My friend's in real danger. I think we need to dig deeper into what's going on. Got it. Let us meet at the coffee shop in 20 minutes. We'll brainstorm and figure this out, he replied. A reassuring tone in his voice. Emily ended the call. The weight of this new reality settled in. The uncertainty loomed like a storm cloud. This was more than just a fundraiser. This was about saving a life. She felt the urgency in her bones. When she arrived at the coffee shop, the clattering of cups and low murmurs felt oddly comforting. Yet the tension coursing through her was palpable. "'Kay, what do we know?" Joe asked as he slid into the booth across from her, eyes bright with determination. Emily leaned in closer, her heart racing at the thought of what may lay ahead. "We need to talk to Sarah. We need to understand what she's up against. And I think we should consider getting others involved too. The community can be a strong force if we rally together." Joe nodded, excitement coursing through him like electricity. "We can put together a small team, maybe reach out to some local social workers. Who knows what help we can bring if we come together." Suddenly, Emily sensed a shadow flickering outside the shop's window. Glancing over, she saw a figure watching her. The feeling of being observed made her heart race once more. "Joe," she whispered, pointing subtly toward the window. "I think we're being watched." As the figure melted into the crowd, a shiver ran down her spine. They were diving into deep waters now, and it was apparent this journey was far from over. What more was lurking beneath the surface, waiting to turn their world upside down? Emily's instincts screamed at her to act. She turned to Joe, urgency etched across her face. What if that was someone sent to keep tabs on Sarah? "We need to figure this out fast." Joe blinked, a mix of concern and determination in his eyes. "All right, let us keep our heads. We can't freak out, but we can't ignore this either. We should head over to Sarah's place before someone else makes a move." They left the coffee shop, the doorbell tinkling like a warning as they stepped out into the cool evening air. The setting sun cast long shadows on the sidewalk, echoing the darkness encroaching on Sarah's life. Emily felt a heavy tree branch of worry press down on her chest as they walked. A nervous energy filled the space between them. Joe glanced at Emily, and their silence spoke volumes. Both understood the stakes were higher than they had anticipated. This wasn't just about a fundraiser. It was about a mother's fierce protectiveness over her child. "Do you have her address?" Joe asked, glancing at Emily's phone illuminated in her palm. "Yeah, I do. Just a few blocks over." With every step, her heart raced faster. Would Sarah be there? Would she be safe? The questions swirled like bees in a hive, buzzing frantically. When they arrived, a modest apartment building loomed before them, its walls peeling and stained. It felt both like a refuge and a trap. A sense of foreboding settled in as they climbed the narrow stairwell. Each step echoed, amplifying Emily's anxiety. The door to Sarah's apartment stood slightly ajar. They exchanged a worried glance. Emily hesitated before knocking softly, fear dancing in the pit of her stomach. "Sarah," she called softly, pushing the door open just a crack, her heart thumping like a drum. "Emily? Joe?" Sarah's voice drifted from inside, threaded with confusion and surprise. "What are you doing here? There is something we need to talk about." Emily stepped inside, holding the door open for Joe. "I got some worrying news. Can we sit?" Sarah's brow furrowed, her hands trembling slightly as she gestured them to the living room. It was a small place, cluttered, but with a warmth that felt inviting despite the chaos. As they sat, the weight of unspoken fears filled the room. Emily took a deep breath, her heart aching. "We heard about your son. His debts. We want to help, but we need to know what's going on." Tears glistened in Sarah's eyes and she looked away, biting her lip. "I thought I could handle it. Make it go away. But it's all spiraling out of control." Her voice cracked as if breaking a dam. "What do you mean?" Joe asked gently, concern etched into his features. "It's more than just money. They're not just going to forget about it. They want something." The fear in her voice wrapped around Emily, squeezing tight. "Something like what?" Emily pressed, her heart breaking for this woman who had carried so much alone. They want my son." Silence engulfed the room like a suffocating blanket. Emily's mind raced. The danger was more real than she had imagined, and every instinct urged her to protect Sarah and her son. "We're going to figure this out," Emily said, resolve solidifying in her chest. "You're not alone anymore, Sarah. We'll find a way." But deep inside, Emily couldn't shake the ominous feeling that they were now targets in a game much larger and more dangerous than they had anticipated. She looked out the window, catching a glimpse of a figure lingering across the street, half hidden in the shadows. "Stay close to us, Sarah," she whispered, her heart pounding. "We're just getting started. And I'm not letting anything happen to you or your son." As they began to forge a plan, a chill swept through the room, multiplying Emily's fear. What fallout would come in the wake of their struggle? But even as she braced for the storm, one question loomed larger than the rest. What unseen forces were they now up against? And would they have the strength needed to confront them? Emily's heart raced as she realized the gravity of their situation. She could hear the faint echo of her own pulse in her ears, drowning out the sounds of the city outside. This was no longer just a matter of money or threats. It was about the safety of an innocent child. "Let us start from the beginning," Joe urged, breaking the silence that had settled heavily in the air. "Sarah, we need to know everything. Who you owe money to. What has been going on?" With a shaky breath, Sarah nodded and wiped at the tears pooling in her eyes. "It all started when my husband lost his job. I thought I could manage, but I fell behind on bills and I turned to a loan shark." Emily felt her stomach drop. "Loan shark? Are you serious?" "Sarah, that's incredibly dangerous." "I know," Sarah cried, burying her face in her hands. "I thought it was my only option. They said they could help, but it only made things worse. They started calling me, showing up here." She trailed off, glancing nervously towards the door as if she expected someone to burst in at any moment. Joe leaned forward, his expression serious. "Sarah, please tell us who these people are. Knowledge is our only weapon against this. They're just a group of men. They don't say their names. They come late at night," and her voice faltered. "They said if I didn't pay up, they'd take my son. They think I'm a nobody, just someone they can use." Emily's hands curled into fists, anger igniting inside her. How could anyone threaten a child? "We can take this to the police," she suggested, but the doubt crept in. Would authorities intervene quickly enough? "No, you don't understand." Sarah's voice was frantic. "They have connections. They know people. If I go to the police, they'll retaliate and I can't risk it." Emily exchanged a worried glance with Joe. They were in uncharted territory, facing a group driven by greed and malice. "Then we'll figure another way," Joe said decisively. "We're not letting them hurt you or your son." Emily reached over and clasped Sarah's hand. "You have us now. We'll protect you." But as comforting as those words sounded, Emily couldn't shake off the feeling of impending doom. What if their efforts only made things worse? "Do you think they're watching you now?" Joe asked, his voice low, careful. "They could be. I'm always looking over my shoulder," Sarah admitted, a shiver creeping up her spine. The trio fell into a hushed silence, minds racing with plans that felt impossibly heavy. Then, Emily remembered the figure she'd seen outside. "I saw someone lurking across the street just before we came in," she revealed, her voice steady but her heart hammering. "Lurking?" Sarah echoed, panic rising again. "Do you think they sent someone?" "I don't know," Emily replied, her mind spiraling with anxiety. "We might need to act fast. They might be onto us." Just then, a loud bang echoed from the hallway outside the apartment, shattering the tense stillness. All three jumped, hearts leaping into their throats. Joe whispered, eyes wide. "What do we do now?" Before she could respond, the door creaked open and a short, stocky man stepped inside, a shadow looming behind him. Emily felt her skin prickling. The chill of fear swept through her as she found herself staring at a stranger who carried danger in every line of his face. "Good evening, ladies," he said, flashing a grin that promised nothing but trouble. "I think it's time we talked." Emily's breath hitched, and she felt every instinct kick into high gear. They had to think fast. She had to protect Sarah and her son. But how? What was this man's true intention? And how far was he willing to go to get what he wanted? The darkness around them deepened, and Emily realized that the nightmare was just beginning. Emily's mind raced, her heart pounding against her chest as the man stepped further into the dimly lit apartment. The shadow behind him seemed to loom larger with every step. Joe instinctively moved in front of Sarah, his protectiveness palpable. "Who are you?" Emily demanded, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "Just a messenger," the man said, his voice smooth like oil. "But I think we need to get to know each other a little better." His eyes flickered towards Sarah, and Emily felt a new wave of dread wash over her. "Stay away from her," Joe shouted, fists clenched, ready to defend. The man just chuckled. "You misunderstand. I'm not here to hurt her yet. I'm here to talk business." He settled into the couch with a relaxed demeanor, as if he were at a friendly gathering instead of a tense standoff. Emily exchanged worried glances with Joe and Sarah. What do you want? She pressed, backing Joe's stance, refusing to show weakness. The man leaned forward, his demeanor switching to something more serious. Sarah owes money. A lot of money. And the clock is ticking. You know how it goes. They don't take kindly to late payments. The look in his eyes sharpened. The threat of violence hung in the air like a rock in the gut. Emily had a sinking feeling that this was more than some short-lived intimidation. What if I pay you? Sarah's voice trembled, but she was gaining strength. What if I find a way to settle the debt? Please just leave my son out of this. A crooked smile crept across the man's face. His interest piqued. Now that's an interesting proposition. But it won't be easy. The folks I work for, they want their money, and they'll do anything to get it. His gaze flicked meaningfully to the door, as though to remind them that danger was just a heartbeat away. Emily felt a surge of anger. You're using her desperation against her. She spat, stepping forward. She is a mother trying to survive. Whatever you're doing is wrong. Wrong? He echoed mockingly. Life isn't about right or wrong. It's about survival. She made choices and now she must face the consequences. His eyes glinted, reminding everyone in the room of the seriousness of their plight. Stop. Just stop. Sarah interrupted, her voice rising in frustration. What do you want from me? A favor, he replied, leaning back and crossing his arms. If you want my help, you'll have to make it worth my while. Work for me. Just a simple job to settle your debt. No violence involved. It's just business. Emily exchanged another glance with Joe, her mind racing. What could he possibly mean? Was it a way to save Sarah, or a trap that would deepen their nightmares? What kind of job? Joe demanded, his protective instincts flaring again. You think we'd just trust you? The man's grin widened, revealing a hint of menace. Oh, I think you'll find it very profitable if you're willing to play along. A heavy silence fell. The weight of the moment pressed down on them. Crime, debt, and desperation twisted into a complex knot. With Sarah at the center of it all, Emily's heart thudded in her chest. If Sarah agreed, what would it mean for them all? You can't trust him, Sarah, Emily urged, her voice trembling. We can find another way. But what if this is the only way? Sarah countered, her eyes pleading for understanding. I can't risk my son's life just then. A loud crash echoed from the hallway, sending shockwaves through the group. The moment unraveled as a flash of movement caught Emily's eye. Suddenly, they weren't just negotiating with a man in a suit. They were caught in a web of danger that threatened to swallow them whole. The door burst open wider, and the shadowy figure from earlier rushed in, eyes wild with fury. Run! He shouted. What would happen next? Would they flee and leave Sarah to the wolves? Or would they confront whatever awaited them together? The choice hung in the air, electrifying and terrifying. Emily's heart raced faster than a wild horse as chaos erupted around them. The man on the couch shot up, momentarily caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the stranger. Joe instinctively pulled Sarah closer, his muscles tense, ready to shield her at all costs. Run! The man yelled again, his voice cutting through the anxiety in the air like a knife. He looked desperate, as if he had just escaped from something terrifying. Who are you? Emily demanded, instinct taking over, still determined to protect Sarah. What's going on? Not now, the newcomer shouted, glancing frantically behind him. They're coming. You need to get out of here now. The warning sent icy fingers up Emily's spine. The looming threat took on a new shape as shadows danced in the doorway, shifting and closing in. They didn't have time for questions. Go, Joe urged, pushing Emily and Sarah towards the back door as he faced the man in the suit. You two, if you know something, help us. The sincerity in Joe's voice cut through the tension, but the man only shook his head, visibly conflicted. Listen, I'm not your enemy, he began, raising his hands as if to calm the chaos, but the urgency was palpable. I can't be part of this. Just get out before they see you. Get out? With what? You think we'll leave you here? Emily shouted, but the fear in her heart was starting to drown out her anger. The stranger swallowed hard, stepping closer. If you don't leave now, it won't just be Sarah's life on the line. They won't stop until anyone connected to her is taken care of. Emily could see the panic in Joe's eyes and felt Sarah trembling beside her. This wasn't just about money anymore, it was survival. Come on. Joe shouted again, this time his voice sharper, urging everyone toward the back exit. We can figure this out later. We just need to survive. As they dashed through the narrow hallway, the loud footfalls of their pursuers echoed from the front. Emily's mind was a frantic whirlpool of thoughts. How had their lives spiraled into this mess? And where would they go? Then, as if reading her thoughts, Sarah grasped Emily's arm, desperation in her eyes. I can't leave. Not without my son. Emily felt her breath catch. They couldn't abandon the boy. But what choice did they have? Suddenly, a loud crash came from the front of the apartment, and the door buckled under the weight of a forceful entry. Panic surged within Emily. They had mere seconds before they'd find themselves trapped with no way out. Go, go, Joe hissed, practically dragging Sarah along. He turned briefly and stared into the man's eyes. Are you coming or not? The man hesitated, the weight of his choices hanging heavy in the air. I can't, he finally said, shaking his head. If I leave, I'm as good as dead. Then we don't need you, Joe shouted before pulling Sarah through the door, Emily right behind them. They burst out into the dark alley behind the building, cold night air filling their lungs. Emily squinted against the harsh light of a street lamp, heart hammering. Where to run? Where was it safe? Just when it seemed they might escape, another figure emerged from the shadows ahead, blocking their exit. Emily froze, panic flooding her senses. Stop right there, commanded a voice like gravel. The terror was instantly palpable. It felt like time itself had paused. What would they do now? Would they face this new threat? Or was the nightmare only just beginning? Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she took in the figure blocking their path. The street lamp illuminated the silhouette, casting an eerie shadow against the walls of the alley. Panic set in as she considered their next move. Please, she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. She felt Sarah clawing tighter to her side, fear washing over them both. Behind her, she could hear Joe shifting nervously, the crunch of gravel under his feet a harsh reminder of their precarious situation. Who are you? Joe demanded, trying to sound authoritative despite the tremor in his voice. What do you want? The figure stepped forward, revealing a man with a hard stare and scars marking his face. I'm not here to hurt you yet, he stated, his voice rough. But if you want to make it out of here, you need to listen carefully. Make it out? Emily repeated weakly, glancing around for another escape route. The alley felt like a coffin, its walls pressing in from all sides. If we move, you could turn us in. We don't trust you. The man sighed, rubbing the back of his neck, revealing tension. You don't have the luxury of trust right now. They're not far behind. If you stay here, you'll be caught. Who's after us? Sarah asked, her voice shaky but challenging. The man hesitated, weighing his words. They won't stop until they get what they want. You were seen, and they know you're connected to someone they're hunting. Fear twisted in Emily's stomach. Connected? To who? The man's eyes flicked around, checking his surroundings. That's not for me to say. You need to decide now, will you follow me or stay here and probably end up in chains? Joe's grip on Sarah tightened, and for a moment despair hung in the air. Emily thought of the safety of her home, the mundane life they had lived, and how quickly it had all unraveled. Aren't you scared? Sarah's voice carried a hint of disbelief. Scared? I'm terrified, the man replied, but fear is the enemy. Staying stagnant is what will get you caught. Look, Joe said, determination rising in his voice. We'll go with you. Just lead the way. Smart choice, he said, relief briefly flickering across his features. This way. The man turned, his movement swift and decisive as he beckoned them deeper into the shadows. Emily followed closely, her heart racing. They wove through the back streets, every echo and rustle sharpening her senses. It almost felt like a dream, one where she couldn't wake up. They turned a corner and found a small door almost hidden within a bricked wall. Get inside, the man commanded, pushing them through one at a time. Where are we? Emily gasped as they entered, feeling her breath hitch again. The dimly lit room smelled of mildew and dust. Old boxes and forgotten furniture cluttered the space, a stark contrast to the chaos they had just escaped. Safety for now, said the man, glancing toward the door, which he swiftly locked behind them. But it won't last long. We don't have time to waste. Please tell us what's going on, Emily begged. First, we need to know your connection to that woman, he replied, pulling off his jacket and tossing it aside, revealing an emblem on his shirt that made her frown. Then we can figure out how to keep you all alive. Emily's eyes widened as a realization hit her like a freight train. Everything circled back to Sarah. The weight of that truth settled heavily on her heart. What had been unfolding was bigger than she had imagined. But would the answers they needed come with even more danger? As they stood in the dim room, the door rattled violently. We need to move again. Would they be able to flee once more? Or would this decision seal their fate? Emily's breath caught in her throat as the rattling door echoed through the cramped space. Panic licked at the edges of her mind, urging her to think fast. What do we do? She whispered, her voice trembling. The man's face hardened, eyes narrowing as he assessed their options. We've got to find another way out. The windows won't hold them back for long. Windows? Joe exclaimed, glancing towards the small, grime-covered panes that barely let any light through. There's no way we can escape through there. Trust me, I've done it before, the man snapped, edging toward the only small window. He started pushing against it forcefully, but the wood frame held tight. Chinks of dirt and dust flew into the air, an unwelcome reminder of their desperation. Sarah's grip on Emily's arm tightened again. What does he mean, done it before? The fear in Sarah's voice made Emily's heart ache. The man paused, realizing he had revealed too much. I meant he started, but a loud bang against the door interrupted him. We're running out of time, he growled. With one last shove, the window creaked open just enough to let in a draft. Okay, we'll need to squeeze through, he instructed, forcing himself into the opening. You first, then Sarah, then Joe. His voice was commanding but threaded with urgency, a tone that made Emily hesitate, even in the face of danger. Why can't you just go first? Joe protested, his brow wrinkled with unease. Because I need to know you're safe, he shot back, focusing on Sarah now. Just trust me. Get through now. With a nod, Emily turned to Sarah, trying to instill some confidence as she pushed her friend gently toward the window. You got this. Just think of it as an adventure. Sarah's eyes shimmered with a mix of fear and determination. Right. Adventure. She took a deep breath, scrambling up as the man reached down to help her. You're next, he said to Emily once Sarah was safely outside. Go. As Emily climbed, she forced her legs to move despite the doubt swirling in her mind. The outside air was cool against her skin, a sharp contrast to the musty darkness they had just escaped. Once through, Emily landed clumsily on the ground but quickly regained her balance. She turned around, extending her hands, beckoning Joe. You can do it. Joe hesitated, casting a nervous glance back over his shoulder. The door creaked ominously, and with a strangled breath, he scrambled through the window, barely squeezing himself out. Just as he hit the ground, the door splintered apart. The force of it sent Emily stumbling back, eyes wide with horror as they faced a group of dark figures spilling into their hideout. It's now or never, the man shouted, and without a moment's thought, he darted down the alley, leading the way. They ran like the wind, the sounds of chaos behind them growing louder. Emily's heart raced, each beat echoing her fear. The weight of the situation pressed down on her. Where were they heading? Why are they looking for us? She panted, trying to catch her breath and keep up. The man glanced back, his expression grave. Because of her, he pointed at Sarah, who was just ahead. They believe she holds information that could change everything. The revelation hit Emily hard. Change what? What could Sarah possibly know? But before he could answer, another group emerged from the shadows, blocking their path. Faces twisted with hostility filled her with dread. What now? Emily gasped, adrenaline flooding her veins. The man looked at them, eyes fierce yet vulnerable. We fight. Or we run. Just tell us what to do, Joe said, voice steady despite the fear etched across his face. As they stepped forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead, Emily felt a flicker of hope amidst the terror. But could confrontation lead them to answers, or would it seal their fates once and for all? Emily's heart raced as the fierce faces loomed ahead. The air was thick with tension, every breath choked by a mixture of fear and determination. She and her companions were trapped, caught between the chaos and an unknown destiny, all while Sarah trembled beside her, vulnerable but resolute. Stick close, the man commanded, pushing them into a narrow alleyway that branched off, a desperate maneuver to evade the oncoming threat. Emily felt the raw power of adrenaline coursing through her veins. They darted down the side street, the sound of shouts fading behind them, yet the danger hung in the air like a storm cloud. As they turned another corner, she caught sight of a darkened doorway flickering with old neon light, an entrance to a bar. "In there," she urged, her voice barely a whisper yet laced with urgency. The man nodded and they hurried inside, the door slamming shut just in time. The muffled sounds of pursuit faded to a distant thump. Inside, dim light illuminated faces caught in conversation, unaware of the chaos unfolding outside. Emily quickly scanned the room. She spotted a fairly empty booth at the back. "Over there," she pointed, tempering her breath. They slipped into the booth, catching their breath, hearts racing in unison. "What's going on?" Sarah babbled, panic dancing in her eyes. Emily squeezed her hand, grounding her in reality. "We'll figure it out together." The man sat across from them, his brow furrowed. "They think Sarah has information about something big." Emily's mind whirled. What kind of information? The man hesitated, as if weighing the benefits of sharing. Finally he sighed, the weight of his decision palpable. "It's not just about debts. It's about a deal gone wrong. Something that connects to where Sarah used to work," he said, glancing at Sarah. "And it doesn't just involve her debtors. So they want her for that reason?" Joe interjected, a note of disbelief coloring his voice. "Exactly. If they believe she holds the key, they'll do everything to get to her, and you all have now become involved by association." The man's frankness sent shivers down Emily's spine. She stared at Sarah, whose eyes glistened with tears. "I didn't ask for this. I just wanted to protect my son," Sarah choked, distress trembling through her voice. "Listen to me, you're not alone. We're going to protect you." Emily's voice had a strength she didn't entirely feel, but she meant it. Just then the door swung open, and a group of rough-looking men entered the bar, scanning the patrons. Panic gripped Emily as her eyes widened and her breath caught. They were here. "Stay calm," the man instructed, but Emily could see his own nerves fraying. "We need a plan." "Do we fight?" Joe asked, an edge of desperation in his tone. "Or do we run again?" "Running won't work. These men are relentless," the man stated, his voice a calm anchor in rising chaos. "We need to create a diversion." "What do you have in mind?" Emily felt a spark of determination swell in her chest. "Get me something to cause a scene, anything," he requested. "We need to draw their attention." "Right." Emily nodded, instincts kicking into gear. She scanned the bar, searching for anything that could help. Her eyes landed on a bottle of rum sitting prominently on the shelf. "I'll grab that," she whispered. "Be careful," Joe cautioned as she stealthily rose and moved toward the bar. Her heart pounded, each step feeling like an eternity as she sidled up to the bartender. "What can I get you?" he asked, waving her off dismissively. "Just this rum," she said, attempting a casual grin as she grabbed the bottle. She slipped it into her bag, glancing back at the group of men. They were growing closer. Everything felt cinematic, vibrant yet pulsing with fear. With a deep breath, she sidled back to the booth. "Got it," she whispered triumphantly, her voice strained with adrenaline. "Now we crash it," the man said. "We'll cause a scene to slip past them." Emily felt his urgency ignite the air between them. "Okay, I'll throw it," he nodded, a fierce glint sparking in his eyes as they all grouped around, ready to take swift action against looming danger. And just as those intimidating figures edged nearer, she tossed the bottle to the far end of the bar. The shatter echoed like thunder. Glass exploded, spilling the liquid everywhere. A ruckus erupted as startled patrons exclaimed, and panic surged through the room. It was just enough distraction for them to make their escape. "Go. Now," the man ordered. They surged out of the booth and dashed for the door, Emily's heart racing wildly. She never knew fear could propel someone with such force. They exploded outside into the night, fingers clasped tightly together, shadows dancing on the asphalt. "Keep going," the man shouted, gesturing forward. They sprinted down another street, their breath commingling with the chaos. "Where now?" Sarah gasped, and Emily felt the weight of responsibility heavy on her shoulders. "Just hold on. We'll find a safe place," she called back, adrenaline fueling her determination. They rounded more corners, heartbeats synchronized, a rhythm of survival. After a short, frantic sprint, They spotted a police station in the distance. There, Joe exclaimed. If there's anywhere safe, it's there. Do you think they'll believe us? Sarah asked, uncertainty etching her features. Emily gripped her shoulder, grounding her. They have to. We'll tell them everything. As they tore through the entrance, a new flicker of hope ignited in Emily's heart. Surely the law would protect them. Or so she hoped. They stumbled inside, gasping for breath, adrenaline coursing wildly. We need help, Emily shouted, voice breaking the calm ambience. An officer approached, concern etching his features. What's going on? Before they could respond, a commotion echoed outside. The very shadows they escaped were still on their heels. They're coming, the man shouted, panic creeping back in. Emily's pulse surged. They're after her. Sarah. The officer's demeanor changed, urgency palpable. Stay back. We'll handle this. They acknowledged the brewing storm brewing outside. One that felt like chaos was closing in once more. But Emily looked into Sarah's eyes and willed her to hold on. We're here together. We will get through this. Just then the door burst open. The atmosphere crackled as figures rushed in, the tension thick enough to slice through. Emily clenched her fists, ready to protect her friend at all costs. Whatever happened next wouldn't erase the fight they brought, nor the unbreakable bond they forged along the way. In that moment, pure determination welled up inside her, as they braced for the battle ahead, no longer just three individuals but a united force rising together. But as darkness pressed in, they couldn't help but wonder, would they rise together? Or would this struggle take everything they held dear? It was the start of the fiercest fight, but there was one undeniable truth. Love, friendship, and sheer willpower could conquer even the darkest of foes. And that was where hope began anew. Bind yourselves to this story. Stand up for one another. The strength of community will always shield us, no matter how treacherous the fight may seem. Now you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm. I want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans know how important it is to support the channel through these actions.